Welcome to the Dutch Miller Tailgate Show, produced by SCTV on the RSN Sports Network. It's game time across the mountains, so join us for all the in-depth analysis, predictions, fan interactions, and much more. We take you with us to the most exciting pre-games each week. The region's marquee on-site tailgate show is sponsored by Dutch Miller Auto Group, friends and family pricing for everyone, Thomas Health System, Little General Stores, the Greenbrier Resort, America's Resort, Parmar Stores, Webb Law Center, and Sport Clips of West Virginia. From the heights of the Alleghenies to the banks of the Ohio, from Oak Glen to Bluefield, it's one sports nation and one sports network. It's RSN Sports.
Buffalo Wild Wings. Wings, beer, sports. Dude, how could you pass that up?
City National Bank in South Charleston would like to wish the Black Eagles another winning season. Stop in and see the folks at City National Bank in South Charleston for a zero down payment home mortgage. Don't have time to make it to the bank? Bank with City and deposit your check with your smartphone. Stop in and see the folks at City National in South Charleston for details.
The Dutch Miller Tailgate Show, talking football and a lot more here tonight as we are at Buffalo Wild Wings on Corridor G in South Charleston. Frank Gardenia, the All-Pro Carl Lee, football queen Lisa Odie, and a lot to talk about here tonight as we really are getting deeper into the football season, both high school-wise and collegiately. Week 6 of high school in West Virginia and weeks 4 and 5 for many of the college teams around the country. Pretty exciting time of the year right now, Carl.
It really is. And when you start talking about the high school, you're talking about a loss now is critical. You know, the importance of winning now and winning out, if possible. You know, for the top teams, it's critical. But for those teams that's on the bubble, a couple of losses, 2-3 losses, you're done.
Right on the other end of the spectrum is if you're undefeated. You know,
Absolutely.
You've got a really good feeling about that. You've got championship aspirations. You know, you're looking at maybe heading to Wheeling at the end of the season. So you can see your side of it where if you have those losses, you're not going to make it. And then when you're undefeated, you think you're going to win it all. So it goes both ways.
Well, for example, there's a great game, and we'll talk a little more about it in a few minutes, Capital and Spring Valley.
Yes.
But whoever loses the game, so what? I mean, they're both going to be in the playoffs. They're both going to be high seeds. They're both good enough, even if they go on the road anywhere, they can beat. I mean, this may be the first of a couple of meetings between those two teams.
Yeah, and I think, you know, when you're at the top, when you're talking about those top teams, this is a test to see what it looks like. Because, again, like you said, they're going to see each other again.
Probably.
But those teams, yeah, probably, at some point anyway. But those teams that are just outside of that are thinking like maybe I got a chance to get in, wins and losses are critical for them right now.
Now, at the college level, it's totally different because the playoff has changed things. Only 4 teams get in, and nothing else matters that much. I mean, the so-called big bowls don't even matter like they used to because the playoff has changed everything.
Well, and I think the problem with that for me is it's like you're almost got individuals just picking it. You know,
if you lose a game, it's like you're sunk. I mean,
yeah,
you can have a great year, great team. If you lose a game, ooh, boy, it's tough.
And who you lose it to.
Right.
And who you beat and who you lose it to, that really matters a lot in where you end up in that placement. But, man, you
don't like the committee, huh? You don't trust the committee.
I just do not. I just don't understand how I could watch a team and just say that they're the best team regardless of their body of work.
He's just mad because he's not on the committee.
Well, what you said about
I think I should be on the committee. Yeah. We all should be on the committee.
I think we all 3 should be on the committee.
I think that'd be a good mix.
But I know your point.
Yeah. Well, what you were saying about a loss and you're done. I mean, one and done basically is what it is, and especially for teams like that are at that second tier, like Conference USA. Those lesser-known conferences.
Well, the non-power fives.
Right, the non-power fives. Yeah. I mean, you lose a game, there's no talk of it whatsoever.
Or you go undefeated.
And there's still not talk.
Yeah, there's still no talk about you. You're still not in.
That's true.
Well, the other thing, too, is if with the 4-team playoff, even if you make it, if you're one of the 4 teams that makes it, and you have a great year going, you're 12-0, and you go to the playoff, but you get beat in the semifinals. It's not like you say, oh, we had a great year. It doesn't feel that way because you lost in the semifinals.
No, and And to me, I just feel like I want that opportunity to play myself through. I want to take the top records. I don't like the 4. Give me 16 and let's play. Or give me the top in every conference and let them play it out. Because I think I could see a mid-major. I could see a mid-major having an opportunity to upset a team. And now if I upset that team, even though I don't win a national championship, I have that on my resume. And at least we said, oh, man, we beat Penn State or we beat USC or someone like that. I just think that opportunity, I feel like if you're playing the game at the college level, you deserve that opportunity.
One of the problems is the Division I college football is trying to achieve keeping everybody happy. There was a push and a cry for a playoff. Okay, now we got a playoff. But they're also still trying to preserve the, quote, bowl system to a degree. I'm not sure you can do both. And they're trying to. I'm not sure you can do both. Because if you have 16 teams, you're talking about major revamping there.
But see,
which is okay.
Yeah,
they could do it.
Yeah, I think they could do it.
With all the bowls that they have, they could do it. I mean, they do
Even
it.
if you play yourself into a bowl, as you move up, each level could be considered, one of those bowls. You could put one at each level, call it a bowl. Maybe not at the beginning, just to play in, and then all the rest of how many billions of bowls do we have?
But the problem is money. How would they justify an Alabama who started at number 1 and played every single bowl game, and they took in all that bowl money? They would have to figure out a system, a payoff that was fair.
Well, the other problem, it's not just money for the schools, it's money for the fans. I mean,
yeah, that's true.
Because you're going to have to play games. If you play a 16-team playoff like you do at Division II, 3, 1AA, where are those games played? At home fields.
Yes.
Fans aren't traveling. Nobody can travel 5 straight weeks or 4 straight weeks all over the country to places. Not many.
Yeah, and I give you that. I do. That's a legitimate fact right there. And understand that. But there is so much money in the NCAA, I believe, that some kind of way you can if you're in the playoffs, you ought to be able to help them travel. You ought to help programs be able to travel. I just believe that, and I'm just not comfortable with like 4 teams. And I just think there has to be more. There's got to be opportunities for other programs.
Well, it's diminished the fact that when a team doesn't go to the top 4, so to speak, the playoff system, your bowl game doesn't matter. I mean, that's kind of the attitude that fans take.
I agree.
And it's taken away from that. It used to be if your team made it to a bowl, you had a successful year.
Well, there's too many of them now.
There are too many.
There's too many, and you're not in the one that matters.
Right. So.
Well, and teams now go to bowls, obviously, with 6-6 records. And they lose a bowl game, and they finish with a losing record. Doesn't mean much to go to a bowl now. It used to be special.
Yeah, when you start talking about a 500 team, I'm thinking you're in the wrong place to even consider a bowl. That's not that to me is not a bowl eligible team.
Right.
And I'm not sure where that cutoff is, but I'm sure there's going to be 2 and 3 loss teams. I think anything probably below a 4 loss team, you can't make it.
Well, but then you got bowls it's already getting tough to fill bowl slots as it is, even with 6 wins. 6-6 shouldn't make it, but 5-7, they're going to take a 5-7 team. They've done that just to fill a slot. You got too many bowls, but it's hard to take that and change that.
And I understand if you're a team, you're probably not backing out of that bowl if you don't have to, because you're probably going to have an opportunity to make some money.
Yeah, it is about money. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
I think the consensus is that the bowl system is flawed, and there's some things.
And it's a great
the playoff.
And it's a great
flawed.
recruiting tool. We went to a bowl. You don't have to throw your schedule out, your record out there. You can say we went to this particular bowl and we won.
It is flawed, but it's not easy to fix.
True.
No.
And your point about money, most schools lose money when they go to bowl games. They spend more than they make, and that's a challenge too. The University of Connecticut, when they went to the Fiesta Bowl a few years ago, they lost so much money by winning the Big East and going to a bowl game that it cost their staff most of their jobs. It's not the money maker that it used to be.
I remember it as being something more
because
so
that
not like that now.
Yeah.
But the playoff is it took a lot of effort to get 4 teams. To try to get to 8 and then to 16, Don't hold your breath.
Well, let me ask you this.
It'll happen maybe, but don't hold your breath.
Are you comfortable? Are you all, either one of you, comfortable with the process of us just sitting in a room and saying, okay, these are the 4? See, I just don't know if that's.
No.
I'm not comfortable with that.
I'm not a fan of it. I never have been.
Yeah.
But
Well-
and it depends on who makes up the committee. Sometimes there's some questionable people on the committee.
The problem with college football is nobody's happy with anything. They weren't happy
You're
before.
happy.
I don't care, but they weren't happy. No, people clamored for a playoff. By golly, we want a playoff. Well, they got a playoff. Now they're still not happy.
Yeah.
So what do? No matter what you do, the system is not very perfect. I mean, the good thing about it is we do at least have now number 1, 2, 3, and 4 playing each other in a bowl game. We didn't used to have that. It used to be that conferences were tied into the major bowls, and the top teams may never play. And you had split national champions, but it's still not perfect.
Well, what about the number 1 teams? If you win your conference,
All going in as
all going in.
how many conferences
Like
are there?
basketball.
Well, if you're talking about the Power 5, right?
You're talking 5 Power 5s,
Right.
and then you're talking 11 at-larges to get 16. There's still going to be people upset because people are left out, just like the basketball tournament. I mean, it's not. There's no perfect, and the committee is certainly not perfect. They've tried to get a mix of people on the committee, but they're still humans, and people say, well, they're not supposed to have an agenda, but they do. I mean, it's
It's for who? I mean, there's no way an Alabama on the edge. Alabama's not getting in.
Right.
Not saying that they would be on the edge this year, but if Alabama's floating out there on the edge, we're sitting in that room.
Well,
somebody's saying, Frank, okay, look, we got. I mean, Alabama's going to draw. We got to get Alabama into that mix.
well, it's not so much Alabama; it's the SEC.
I'll give you that.
If it's an if
Alabama would be the best choice, I would think.
This year, whoever it is, though, in the SEC, their champion is probably always going to get in. Whoever it is in the Big Ten, their champion probably is always going to get in. Not necessarily true for the other leagues, as we've seen.
Yeah.
And some of that has to change on the field because some of the other leagues haven't won national championships. The Big Ten has, the SEC has. Some of
They've
the
had more opportunities than.
Well,
I don't know.
let me ask this question. So, what about who we play? Like,
and
does it matter? Does it matter? What if WVU were to play Alabama? Does that help them or hurt them, or does it make a difference? Because
You mean in the regular season?
yes, in the regular season, would that help you?
Well, it's supposed to. Its strength of schedule is supposed to be a big part of the committee evaluation.
And then the fear in that is you end up hurting yourself in your overall schedule
because you lose a game
because you
or
lose
two.
the game. Yes,
But if you're good enough to win a national championship, you don't lose that game.
I give you that.
That's the thing.
Yeah.
Now, the other issue that comes up legally is the players. I'm not sure the college players really want it that badly. They don't want to play an NFL schedule of like 20 games, 18 games. Right now, some of them are playing 12. They're all playing 12 games. Some are playing 13 and 14 games. Now you add 2 more. Now you've got a pro schedule basically.
Yeah.
And the college guys say, if that's the case, we're out. Because I don't want to get hurt for the next level.
Well, we're seeing that
Guys are already dropping out of the boat, right.
in that space already are talking about. I don't know if I really want to play. They don't even. I may agree with you that if I'm at Alabama and I'm a senior and I'm a number 1 pick, that national championship game.
Even if you don't make the playoff and you're in the Who Cares Bowl,
Yes.
you definitely may not want to play.
Cares?
You're probably not playing that. In hindsight, I can remember a few years ago talking about, I just don't know how I could do that. I would want to play with my team. I'd want to compete. But when you've got a guy who could get a 3-year contract with $70 million guaranteed.
Look at the guys who've done that.
Yes.
Christian McCaffrey didn't play in his bowl game. Did it hurt him?
No.
Not a bit.
No.
You
And
know?
I don't know if the pro coaches, I think we've heard from pro coaches feeling like, I think those guys should play. I think that's just talk.
They still draft him.
Yeah, they still draft him.
Yeah.
It doesn't hold because
That's
he's
not
not
gonna
really a
stop
team
anything.
player.
They still draft
But they
him.
draft
And I
him.
guarantee if they got hurt, they wouldn't draft him.
Exactly.
So it's double speak.
But it's not a perfect system, that's for sure.
No.
And we're not going to fix it overnight.
We're trying.
We're not even close. But it's hard to get close. All right, we'll take a break. Back with more after this.
School time, and there's 3 things I can't wait to do. Get the 64-pack of crayons. I want the sharpener on the back, dang it. Try out for the school play. Annie. It's a hard knock life. And buy enough number 2 pencils to fill up the entire bed of my brand new pickup truck from Dutch Miller Ram of South Charleston.
For a limited time, get a 2018 Quad Express 4x4, starting at just $169 a month.
Only at Dutch Miller Ram of South Charleston.
Coach Bob Huggins here at your local Little General store. As I travel this great state, it's nice to know that almost anywhere I go, there's a local Little General nearby. So the next time you're on the road, look for the Little General sign and tell them Hugs sent you.
Hi, I'm the host of a new sports show here in Charleston called The Brandon Lowe Show. I talk WVU, Marshall, high school sports, and even national stories. Things don't always go as planned. But Nick always knows how to tackle the problems.
Listen to The Brandon Lowe Show, weekdays at 5 on AM 950 and 95 to sportsfox.com.
Welcome back. Dutch Miller Tailgate Show tonight coming your way at the Buffalo Wild Wings on Quarter G in South Charleston. Frank Gardenia, Carl Lee, Lisa Odie, Dana Farrell with us now. Also, as we switch from the college talk to some high school conversation, it is a big weekend of high school football and probably the feature game in AAA, Spring Valley and Capital playing at UC Stadium in Charleston. This is probably, Dana, as big a game as we've had all year in AAA in West Virginia.
Absolutely. I think everybody had this one kind of pinned on their calendar before the season started, and it has lived up to the hype. We are here halfway through the season at this point, and you got to figure both these teams are undefeated, and you got to figure the way things have looked that one, if not both of them, will be at Wheeling Island Stadium in December. So, this has playoff implications written all over it. It's a big game. It's at Laidley Field, where he had held the state playoffs and championships forever before it went to Wheeling. So now you have these teams coming in here, and it's just going to be a big atmosphere. This game's going to be live streamed. We'll have it at rsnsports.com, so if you can't make it, which I always say this, people say, is streaming the game going to hurt the gate? No, because if you want to watch good high school football, you want to be there for a game like this. So I think there'll still be a great crowd there. But if you can't make it, or if you're watching for the panhandles and things you want to tune in, you can watch it for free at rsnsports.com. We'll pick up the feed from VPI Productions tomorrow and Kindred Communications. So that will be a big game.
Mm-hmm. And you have Power 5 Division I commitments playing in this game.
Yeah, I think that's critical, because the bigger the game, the more important it is to perform. If scouts are looking at you and you're talking Division I, even major Division II, mid majors, you got to play. These are the games that you have to play and play them well. This is not one of those kind of games that you can disappear and think that that's going to help you.
Right.
Two very well coached teams, John Carpenter, Brad Dingus. You've got Kerry Martin of Capital, who's verbal to West Virginia, plays quarterback in high school. You know the story. Probably will be a defensive back in college. Spring Valley's got 2 Division I lineman verbals. The Nestor kid going to Ohio State, the young man going to Louisville. So you've got star power in this game.
Right. Both teams have playmakers, that's for sure.
Absolutely. And my question to everyone is like, well, will it look like 2 different teams? Capital one way, up and down the field. Spring Valley, more of a power team. Is that what we're going to be looking at? And who typically, Frank, in your mind, wins that game?
I'm not sure I'm going to put a label on these 2 teams because they both can do both. I mean, Capital, you think speed up and down the field, but they can grind it out on you. They can smack you in the mouth. Spring Valley, you think, okay, control the clock. Not necessarily. They
found a passing game.
They can throw the ball. They can. I mean, I'm not sure I'd want to label these 2 teams totally as different styles. I think they're both just competent teams. What do you think?
One thing for sure, you're going to see big-time players, as we mentioned, and big-time plays, I think, with power teams here. I mean, it's a game you want to be at if you can possibly be there. Great atmosphere, as good as high school football gets in West Virginia tomorrow night here in Charleston.
Now, do you want a prediction?
I'm curious.
Is that what you're trying to challenge?
I was trying to pull that out of you. I thought you were just going to run.
I'm going to go out on a limb and say I don't know.
Oh wow!
Well,
big risk taker.
Well, yeah, big risk taker. When you start talking about quarterbacks, though, what we've seen here of late, for whatever the reason, star quarterbacks tend to win football games. All of a sudden, having that key guy, that signal caller who's making the difference. That guy, whether it's high school, college, and pro, if you have him, the chances of you winning a football game seems to go up.
If you don't have him,
then it goes down.
Yeah, if you don't have that guy, I'm going to go. It's hard for me to go against a team who has a star quarterback. It's just hard.
So is he saying
I'm saying Capital.
I think he's going
I gotta go Capital. I got to go Capital.
They're on the home field. They're on their turf. Spring Valley plays on natural turf at home. I think you can look at some things. I don't know how much that's going to make a difference, but at the end of the day, Capital's in their comfort zone in that regard. But
I'll say this before you get anything else out. The only thing that slows down a quarterback or slows down a team is if you hit him in the mouth. So if Spring Valley has the ability to catch him, they have the ability to catch him, and they can hit him in the mouth, they've got a shot. If they don't, I don't.
Queen's dying to jump in here.
Get in.
I want to say something. Besides hit him in the mouth, which is one strategy that Mr. Lee over here
Get flagged for that
supports.
in NFL.
Yeah, there's a flag.
Yeah,
for
there's
that.
a flag. Another thing, if you look back throughout the season of Capital, they've relied heavily on their special teams. So I think that might be a key to the game. If Spring Valley can find a way to contain that special teams play, they may have a better shot of winning the game more so than Capital.
Well, let me say this: what could be better than a matchup like this on a Friday night here in Charleston, West Virginia? The only thing that could be better is a doubleheader, and that's what we have. As it turned out, Sissonville and Polka, 2 double-A teams, one's undefeated coming that surprised everybody, I think, in the state up to this point. Polka being undefeated with a big win over Mingo Central last weekend, going up against a 4-1 Sissonville team, and their only loss being by 3 points in a very, very tough contest to Mingo Central, playing on Saturday. They moved that. It was a homecoming game set for Friday night, tomorrow night at Sissonville. Because of field conditions, they moved it to Saturday night at Laidley Field. So now you have these 4 teams with one loss amongst the 4 teams all going at each other here in the capital city over the weekend. So, I mean, it really is a playoff kind of atmosphere, and both games will have playoff implications all over them, and so you get to see that. So
I have a friend of mine who coaches at Polk, and my question to him every time I see him is this team for real? Have they really played anybody? I'm thinking this will be the week that
I'm
determination we can make that
surprised
determination.
Carl has a friend with the way he phrased that question.
Well, I'm just saying. I mean,
He won't
this is a
release
huge.
it,
I mean, it's
the
a
name of
huge
the source.
turnaround for this team with Owen whatever for the last couple of years, and then and now making that move. That's a big change. So the question is who have they played? Are they really ready for this elite play? That'll be interesting.
I think a lot of people thought that until last weekend.
Yeah,
And then the central score, people were watching that on the scoreboard here in our ScoreStream scoreboard as that was coming in on Friday night. It's like, whoa, Polka's out in front of Mingo Central, and then it just kept going, and the score widened, and then they knocked those guys off, and Mingo Central is nothing to sneeze at. I mean, it's a good program year in and year out. And so now you guys, I think after last week, I think they answered the questions last week. Now you're in a situation where, okay, you got to come back and do it again against a very good Sissonville team on the road. And as you just mentioned in the previous game, Sissonville's got a Kennedy Award finalist quarterback.
Right.
So they've got to go up again this week. And as Domingo Central has a very good quarterback. So this is going to be another big game in Big Town, and it's just I think it's a great weekend for high school football.
And for sure a confidence builder if they're able to win this game. They're going to be able to look down their schedule and say, hey, we can beat anybody on the schedule. I think that'll be critical for them too.
The winners of these two games are going to get a slew of bonus points in the SSAC ratings going in, which translates to home playoff games, which could translate to money for your program and wins, and if you're going to make it. So, when we look back at AAA here at that game, obviously you got to think when you look at who the Final Four are going to be in AAA. Martinsburg's always going to be that name in there, but now you got to think Capital and Spring Valley are two of the others. So everybody's looking who's going to be that fourth team in AAA. I don't know. There's some other big games going on. We look at Musselman and Morgantown are playing each other also this weekend, tomorrow night. So
I think most people at the start of the year would have said Huntington maybe as a fourth.
But Huntington could be that fourth team. And so, there's other teams trying to say who's going to be that other fourth team. I think Huntington would be.
Depends on who's going to play who in the first, second rounds too.
So that's a big deal. Another AAA game tomorrow night. Wheeling Park goes on the road at Parkersburg, and we were talking with Ryan Pritt, Charleston Gazette Mail, before we went on air tonight. Frank and I were, and you mentioned that becomes a big game for Parkersburg. They need to win that game. It's at home. And if they're going to be talked about in the AAA playoff picture, they need to win that game.
Yeah, that's a crucial win. They're 3-2. Is that correct, Parkersburg? So they definitely need that win. And Wheeling Park's 4-0, of course.
So 2-2, I'm sorry, on Parkersburg, and then 4-0. So that would be a huge win. They get a bunch of bonus points, and they start to move up into that. You're thinking not just playoffs, but a home field advantage kind of thing. So that's a big deal.
And here's why I don't jump on your desire to give a pick for the Spring Valley Capital game. I'll give you one, but I'm not sure it matters as much. I mean, you can enjoy these games. I think the four teams that are playing in Charleston the next couple of days are having great seasons and going to be factors in the playoffs. But I think all four, we pretty much know right now, are probably going to be in the playoffs. It's a shock if they're not. So these games to me are relax, have fun, enjoy it, watch the games.
Only thing I'll say, is to that. I agree with one exception. I'm still leery of Polka yet. I really want. All I'm saying is I just really want to see this team prove that they belong there. Just because of the jump, it's an amazing jump. I mean, if they get to the playoffs and even win a game in the playoffs, that team now is like got that the momentum that they would create for that program going forward would be amazing.
Absolutely. It's like I said, this game is big for that. And I hear what Frank is saying. Okay, just relax. But
I'm not saying that to the players. I'm saying that to the fans.
Because it's a game that you can watch
if
because
you
you'll
lose
see
this
these teams
game,
again.
If you lose this game, you've still got a lot of season to go. And in Double-A, it's going to come down to Bluefield and Fairmont Senior anyway. I'm just telling you right now.
Okay, Polka fans. That would be Frank. Frank Gardenia.
So we've already solved that issue.
Tonight.
We've already solved that issue.
It happened last year, right?
We've dismissed Bridgeport.
They're done.
Just them right out of there.
Right.
Kaiser, dissed him right out of there.
Don't let the door.
Nicholas County's undefeated right now, just dissed him right out of there.
He's pulled a couple of those off. He's pulled a couple of those off, so I'm not going to challenge him on that.
I think there's going to be a letter writing campaign.
Haters.
The haters this week are going to come out.
They may come out.
Oh,
well,
gee.
in AAA, everybody's been chasing Martinsburg for a while.
Yeah, that's true.
And
has anybody caught him? You think anybody's caught him?
I don't know. We'll find out.
Yeah, Mingo Central lost one game, dissed them right out of there. I could go on and on. Point Pleasant, have they lost? No, dissed them right out of there.
And I kind of understand what Frank's saying. I mean, it's if you've had that experience and you know what it's like, those teams, you can almost throw the record out when you start talking about playoff. They understand how to get prepared for a playoff game, how to play it, all the emotion that goes around it. It's just how it works.
It's not just that, though. It's also talent.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
yes,
Fairmont Senior's got Division I kids. Bluefield's got a young man who just was offered a scholarship to West Virginia this week. Bluefield's loaded with talent. I mean, those two teams, nothing against anybody else, but those two teams are outstanding teams. They're great teams.
Well, speaking of outstanding teams, let's move as we move into this segment. Class A, there's a big game. We talked with Ryan before we went on air. Fayetteville, and they've got, I want to say Oak Hill, but it's not Oak Hill. Oh, Sherman. Don't want to mess it up. Sherman is at Fayetteville in a Class Single A game. And as Ryan pointed out, that is a historical game because Fayetteville is set to close. So this is a game, both those teams coming in undefeated in Single A. So it should be a big crowd and exciting.
To me, the story of the year thus far in Single A is Mount View. I mean, you talk about Polka and their turnaround. How about Mount View? I mean, there's been not much. There's been no success there. Now they've been number one in Single A, the last few weeks?
Right.
And this used to be a county full of AAA teams. This is Welch, North Fork, Gary, Big Creek, down near Pineville where Kurt Warner played. I mean, this was football heaven for many in the state. But Mount View, I mean, people have left that county. Mount View's a Single A school now, and it's been a struggle. Not much to get excited about. They have really put that county on their back.
I agree.
And given them, I mean, to me, it's a great story.
It's a great story. Doddridge County's undefeated at 4-0. And I'm looking there. You have Payton City this week. I'm sorry, not Payton City. They have Work County with 1-4. They're probably, they're going to end up 6-0 after. Look at some of these teams in Tucker County's undefeated. They're going up against Pendleton County's at 3-2. So that's going to be a big game over there. But Wheeling Central is still probably just like you're going back the team with the talent and the team to beat. Even though we're talking about who are going to be the team, the challengers, as they win themselves out through Class A throughout the second half of the schedule. It's going to be interesting to see.
It's amazing. Wheeling Central can lose 4 games in the regular season, be a 15 seed. Doesn't matter, it seems like.
They're going to be there in December.
To get to the playoffs, they do very well. We'll take a break. Back with more after this.
I go like this.
The best part about playing football in Texas has to be the reaction from the community.
I want to encourage others to play volleyball or choir because you get to experience new things and do stuff that you've never done before. My reason why is passion.
My reason why is pride.
Coaches teach your kids to dream. Coaches teach your kids to overcome. Coaches teach your kids good sportsmanship. Coaches teach your kids proper technique. But who teaches your coaches?
Now you can create your own tour of Italy from Olive Garden's most mouth-watering dishes, starting at $12.99. Choose 3 of 10 classic favorites to enjoy on one plate, like our delicious new shrimp ravioli with lobster Alfredo, a filled pasta like irresistible tortellini al forno, and a classic like creamy fettuccine Alfredo, plus unlimited salad and freshly baked breadsticks. Because the best tour of Italy is the one you create. Only at Olive Garden. We're all family here. Breadstick lovers, your new favorite lunches here. Breadstick sandwiches.
The RSN Sports Tailgate Show, sponsored by Thomas Health Systems, your first choice in healthcare. Little General Stores, there's one near you. Summit Orthopedics and Dr. Phil Surface, Sports Med Specialist. The Webb Law Center, we bring justice to you. Sport Clips of West Virginia, locations in Morgantown, Charleston, and Parkersburg. Parmore Convenience Stores, where winners stop. And the Greenbrier Resort, America's Resort. Escape today.
And welcome back, Dutch Miller Tailgate Show here from Buffalo Wild Wings. In South Charleston, Frank Gardenia, Carl Lee, the All-Pro, football queen Lisa Odie. And we'll shift our attention now to the college ranks in the state. West Virginia on the road this weekend in the Big 12 at Texas Tech. This is going to be, everyone thinks, a very high-scoring game with high-scoring offenses. 2 quarterbacks putting up big numbers. Your guys' thoughts on the West Virginia game this week?
It's going to be interesting to see what West Virginia's secondary plays like, because they're definitely going to get challenged this week. I think that's going to be the critical piece for WVU, because again, and you know this as well as I know, if teams can throw, if this exposes their secondary, other people going forward are going to go after that secondary. They're not going to worry about running the football. They're going to go after, whether it be both corners, one corner, whoever that weak link is. If this exposes that, I think this creates trouble. But again, you're talking about a quarterback, WVU's quarterback. You know, he's the real deal. And again, you've heard me say it early, quarterbacks matter, and quarterbacks are winning football games in college and in the pros. And I feel like he's a guy that can do that.
It's definitely going to be a true test for the defense for WVU this week. I think Texas Tech, they're starting a true freshman quarterback. If I'm not mistaken.
Young,
but he's averaging 52 points, or the team is averaging 52 points per game. So that they lost their opener to Ole Miss, I believe, and they've won ever since with him.
And that's what we're not sure. I'm not sure how good this Texas Tech team really is. They did lose to Ole Miss badly. And Ole Miss is not very good. And I'm not sure. I think West Virginia, I'm not sure they're going to have. I think West Virginia will win. It's a road game in the league, and Texas Tech, I'm sure, is playing better than they did at the start of the year, but I still think West Virginia wins this game comfortably.
I think what's important, even besides who wins the game, even if WVU wins, the question will be, will they be exposed? Will Texas Tech expose something about their defense? Even if the score is 40-0 WVU, could they expose a corner? Could they expose the secondary? Mm-hmm. Is there some weakness that they can see in that secondary
that shows up on film?
That shows up on film. That becomes the problem, because now that's that thing that you're going to now then in turn have to fix.
And the problem, and we were going back to the playoff talk earlier and how it's changed things. In the Big 12 right now, the Big 12 is one of those leagues that's not assured of getting 2 teams in, and may not get one in some years.
Yeah.
And there's not much margin for error. If you're West Virginia and you're fighting to make the playoffs, you can't afford to hardly lose a game at Texas Tech. Oklahoma maybe can afford to lose one. West Virginia, Oklahoma, if they're undefeated, they'll lose that game maybe. But there's not a lot of margin for error. You can't stub your toe here. This is an important game for West Virginia.
Does one of these teams need to step out of the Big 12 and really play a major Power 5? I mean,
well, West Virginia tried.
They tried.
They scheduled Tennessee, who turned out not to be very good.
Right.
But they tried. They scheduled NC State in the ACC, and that game, of course, got bothered because the weather didn't happen. So they tried. They're one of the few teams in the country that plays 2 non-conference games against other Power 5 opponents. I think they tried.
But if you, and I guess I was thinking of it from, I know we played, when I was coaching at West Virginia State, we played a school that, was a higher level than we were, and we could compete with them. They were paying us to come and all that. We never actually beat them, but we could play with them. But they were not very good in their own individual conference. So my question, I guess the greater question is, can you raise up? Can you go up above that lower tier team just to go in and say, okay, we beat a team at that level compared to maybe one of the top teams? Is it worth that, or do they need to do that?
Well, the problem is with scheduling, it's done so far in advance.
Yeah.
It's hard to say. I mean, West Virginia might schedule Alabama or Clemson right now for 10 years from now.
Right.
They may not be Alabama or Clemson 10 years from now.
Right.
It's just hard to do that. You try. I think you try, and I think West Virginia's tried. They've scheduled 2 Power 5 teams this year. They've got Penn State and Virginia Tech. They played Virginia Tech last year. They've got series with Penn State, Virginia Tech coming in the future. I think they're trying to do that, but you can't always do it.
Here's a legitimate question. When we go back to the playoff committee, let's say West Virginia goes undefeated. Do they go back and they look at the fact that Tennessee was down this year?
They
and
do.
They go back and look? So why penalize a team that, like you said before, they schedule so far ahead? They don't. At least they put the effort out to play those teams regardless.
So you want to give them points for what's down?
So.
And I understand
you
that.
You can't penalize a team just because the Power 5 team that you scheduled to play 10 years ago is having a down year. That's out of their hands. They tried. They didn't schedule.
They're going to break it down. They're only
They're
only taking 4 teams. They're going to break it down and analyze
every little piece of it.
Strength of schedule is a big part of it, supposedly.
Touchy subject.
It really is, because even strength of schedule, I mean, somebody can be up, somebody can be down that week. So they may, Alabama's not the Alabama every week, but even when they drop, they're not terrible. But so strength of schedule has a lot to do with, somebody could have, your star quarterback could be down, your running back could be down, one of your defensive players could be down, and so you're not that same team. But it just is because if that team had been ranked or was ranked, that's how they're going to measure it.
Well, you also, in college football this weekend, you got 2 playoff. I mean, the playoffs basically start this weekend. You got 2 playoff caliber games. You got Stanford, Notre Dame. Mm-hmm. Both are highly ranked. Whoever loses that game is probably done as far as the playoff goes.
Yeah.
You got Penn State, Ohio State. Whoever wins that game the Big Ten does not look very strong this year. Whoever wins that game has a great chance to run the table and would probably be in. Whoever loses is probably out. I mean, there's a lot of what-if scenarios out there.
And it's just amazing how these things can get decided so early in the season based on those kind of matchups.
And that goes back again to when you have a 4-team playoff. There's only 4 slots.
Full circle.
Yeah.
All ties together.
We'll take a break. Back with more after this.
St. Francis Hospital. Faith is our most powerful medicine, and your faith has made us #1 for orthopedic medical excellence.
Thank you.
Thank you.
#1 in orthopedic care and surgery.
Thank you. Thank you.
And most significantly, #1 in overall hospital care.
Thank you. The St. Francis family says thank you for making us your #1 choice for health care.
St. Francis Hospital, the power to heal.
Every day, around the clock, 24/7. Hundreds of Thomas Health System doctors, nurses, and staff are focused on making quality care and wellness our utmost priority for you and your family. Each one of us is personally committed to your optimal health and well-being. Thomas Memorial Hospital and St. Francis Hospital. Your trusted, personal choice for a lifetime of good health.
The Greek philosopher Aristotle said, you are what you repeatedly do. But in our book, we say you are what you repeatedly do when things get hard. When you look at the naysayers and the haters, and there's a million of them, but you take it upon yourself to erase all doubt. Get that doubt out of here. So my apologies to Aristotle. But excellence doesn't become a habit by running the same path over and over. The excellent ones just step up to the line and ask, what's the record? Under Armour, get your feet straight. You know, the Greek philosopher Aristotle said, you are what you repeatedly do. But in our book, we say you are what you repeatedly do when things get hard. When you look at the naysayers and the haters, and there's a million of them, but you take it upon yourself to erase all doubt. Get that doubt out of here. So my apologies to Aristotle, but excellence doesn't become a habit by running the same path over and over. The excellent ones just step up to the line and ask, what's the record? Under Armour, get your feet straight.
It's back to school time, and there's 3 things I can't wait to do. Get the 64-pack of crayons. I want the sharpener on the back, dang it. Try out for the school play, Annie.
It's a hard knock life.
And buy enough number 2 pencils to fill up the entire bed of my brand new pickup truck from Dutch Miller Ram of South Charleston.
For a limited time, get a 2018 Quad Express 4x4, starting at just $169 a month.
Only at Dutch Miller Ram of South Charleston.
I appreciate it.
Welcome back, Dutch Miller Tailgate Show here at Buffalo Wild Wings on Quarter G, South Charleston. Frank Gardenia, the All-Pro Carl Lee, and the football queen Lisa Odie. And we have got some treats here, but see you later, All-Pro. You missed out again.
See what happens.
So we moved it down here. And
Look at all these people.
I'm trying to figure out, like, why is all the food down there?
Well, because you were talking. We got Travis here.
I didn't even know. No one tapped me like to say we're getting ready to go on air.
That's
we can tell how
we were exposing the secondary. We got Travis here from Buffalo Wild. What do we have here? What have we got?
Right here we have our traditional sampler with the boneless wings, honey barbecue. Comes with the mozzarella sticks and the onion rings and a small ultimate nacho.
Okay, and then what do we have here?
There is our LTO item. It's the buffalo tots. It's tater tots, a fan favorite. Comes with medium sauce, blue cheese crumbles, and chopped up onions.
Blue cheese crumbles. Carl likes that. He always kind of crumbles.
I noticed that how everything was down there.
Well,
that's what happens when you snooze.
Oh man, those are good. Those are good.
Definitely lose.
Yeah, I was losing.
How is it?
It's good. That's really good.
Those are awesome.
Now, how important is football season to you guys?
Oh, football is our biggest season. We get a lot of customers in during that season. That's when we build our regular clientele base, and it's real big for us. It's our biggest season of the year.
When you get a West Virginia game here on a Thursday night, for example, how crazy is it?
A West Virginia game on any day of the week is crazy. Yeah, the fan base is ridiculous. You see blue and gold. You might have a guy in here playing a trumpet every time they score. It gets nuts. It gets nuts.
What about on a Pro Football Sunday?
Pro Football Sundays, we're busy all day. It's more of like a family day, but when the games are on, the guys are in here. They're yelling. They're screaming. They have their jerseys on. You might be a few broken beer glasses. You never know. You never know.
It's amazing how the NFL ratings have dipped since the All-Pro retired.
That explains it.
Yeah, that explains it. So let me ask you this.
Yes, sir.
How much complaining do you hear now when you start to see like some of the flags on the quarterbacks and stuff like that? That's got to be something that I can just imagine. I was in Minnesota this past weekend for Alumni Weekend,
right?
And the first
Yeah, he has to name drop that in there, by the way.
Of course he
so the Vikings ended up hitting the quarterback right off the bat, and they threw a flag. Everybody in the suite was like, "Oh!" So
Yeah.
I'm sure that's happening here.
It's here. They don't agree. The game, they softening up the game, man, and it's really tearing it up. But I mean, they still come out and support. I'm not sure if they keep it up, if they will support still, but. It's definitely a game changer. Definitely a game changer.
There was a kid who, well, I called him kid, but he was a player. We were at practice on Saturday. He said, "Make the game tough again,"
right,
on his hat, and I was like, "That's an interesting thing." I don't know if we can go back the other way.
Do you think they'll change it?
They're going to have. I think they're going to have to change. I mean, I don't know how you sack a quarterback and not fall on him.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I just don't know how that happens. You know, I really believe they're going to have to make some changes. because people don't want to see the flags. Now, you know, as a former player from back in the day, safety is a major issue.
Right.
But there are some things that you just can't take out of the game. You can't protect the quarterback that way.
Fundamentals of football.
It is. It is that reality.
Yeah.
Going back to what you said, Frank, I think I read somewhere this past week that I guess the committee that overlooks all the penalties
the
and
rules
committee, they said that under no circumstances are they going to take that rule away. They're not changing the rule, but they're going to look at how it's enforced the rest of the season, whatever that means.
That's what I should have asked. I'm sure they're not going to change the rule,
right.
But I wonder if the officials are going to change how they enforce it to some degree.
That's what they want. And I don't know how they do that, though. How do they do that?
They're not going to be. They're not going to call it.
Yeah.
That's what it's.
Right.
So we're going to leave the rule in. So
Just
you make the
don't
case
call
we're going to leave it in, and then tell the officials probably not to call it. Because I mean, everybody, everybody's complaining.
Right.
And that's why I was curious of how people are responding to it, because like everybody's responding to it, and it's just, and and there's guys who are old school, and they want football to be rough and tough like it used to be. They don't like it at all.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I just think it's going to be very, very difficult for them to continue to throw these types of flags.
Well, now that you can bet in sports, that upsets a lot of people.
Well, if you bet the Vikings were going to beat the Bills, and the way that game went, you're really mad.
Yes.
Because it wasn't even close.
Right.
Well, I wonder sometimes, too, how much some of it is people, former players like yourselves, other guys who played, they don't like quarterbacks. And this is kind of protecting quarterbacks.
I'll give you this as an example. You're right. We think like the quarterback needs to be like me. He needs to be free game. But with this rule, nobody likes it. We don't like the rule, not because of the quarterback, but it's impossible to do. It's impossible to hit a guy. If you push him down and he falls, he hits his head, it's a flag. If you tackle him and you fall on top of him, it's a flag. So there isn't anything that you can do. It's like you really can't do anything with him. And I don't think that is about the quarterback. I think it's just about the reality. The rule makes no sense if you play the game. You can't tackle somebody and not fall on them.
Right.
It's really tough in midair too. Before we let you go, how much fun is this place on a football weekend?
Man, I love it. I work every weekend. I wouldn't have it no other way. The fan base that comes in, it's amazing. The energy, you can't find it anywhere else. You can go to Quaker if you want, man, but it won't be the same.
And everybody is an expert too. When you're in a mob mentality, everybody's an expert. When you're watching your favorite team play.
Yeah, they come out crazy, man. For the Pittsburgh Steelers, for the Vikings, the Browns actually has a large fan base that comes up, and the Cowboys, Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, so not the Packers. That's good.
No, we have a few. but nothing crazy. Nothing crazy.
All right, we'll take a break and enjoy some of the. I'm thinking we'll let Carl have a tater tot, maybe.
He's already had one.
Yeah, I'm working.
He's had his limit.
Yeah, I'm working this down here.
Maybe a small onion ring for the All-Pro. We'll be back with more after this.
Stay blessed.
It's back to school time, and there's 3 things I can't wait to do. Get the 64-pack of crayons. I want the sharpener on the back, dang it. Try it for the school play. Annie.
It's a hard knock life.
And buy enough number 2 pencils to fill up the entire bed of my brand new pickup truck from Dutch Miller Ram of South Charleston.
For a limited time, get a 2018 Quad Express 4x4, starting at just $169 a month.
Only at Dutch Miller Ram of South Charleston.
firefighter, protecting the world from high prices. Hurry up, Kit, we've got to get there.
Get where, Michael? That was insanely vague.
It's Chris, and we've got to get there to get friends and family pricing to everyone.
Okay, Michael. Locking in coordinates to who knows where.
Again, my name is Chris.
Again, I'm a supercar, not a psychic.
I need an upgrade. Right now, get the technologically advanced Optima, starting at just $199 a month.
Fine, upgrade. While you're at it, why don't you upgrade your hairstyle, Michael?
All right, football conversation here on the Dutch Miller Tailgate Show. Setting up for a big football weekend. Frank Gardenia, the All-Pro Carl Lee, the football queen Lisa Odie. We've talked high school. We've talked about West Virginia's challenge at Texas Tech this weekend. For Marshall fans, Marshall also on the road this weekend against Western Kentucky. Last week, the Thundering Herd played North Carolina State at home and suffered their first loss of the season. Now, back to our discussion about how postseason and playoffs. When you are, quote, non-Power 5, the pressure is on you to try to almost go undefeated to get a chance to make a national statement. Now, that's gone by the boards for Marshall with the loss to NC State over the weekend. Now but you got to refocus your goals because you got your conference play starting now.
Yeah, and I think we talked a few years ago about how games have gotten like to a single game, how important that game is. It could be early on in the season. It's just a matter of how it hits. That if you lose it, you could throw your whole season out of whack.
Well, you have to readjust your goals for sure.
Yes, and I think that's hard if you go into the season already expecting to do something, and then you have to now say, okay, well, look, that's gone. Now we got to settle. I think that's a tough sell for a coach to a team who has some expectation.
Marshall's playing with a freshman quarterback who, does pretty well for a freshman. Road challenge this weekend at Western Kentucky. Western is not the Western Kentucky of the last few years, but this is a game that could be very interesting.
When you have a freshman quarterback, there's all kinds of bumps in the road that you're going to experience because teams are going to change up looks just to try to confuse him. And now, when you don't have him playing for you effectively, you lose that leadership, and all of a sudden you're not scoring, and defenses get frustrated because all of a sudden they're back on the field. It's 3 and out. Those drives have got to be sustainable, and you need a quarterback who's going to at least keep the defense off the field. And I think that's the hardest thing for a rookie quarterback to be able to do.
What's your take, Queen?
Well, we actually went to the NC State Marshall game this past weekend, and so I thought as a freshman quarterback, he played a really solid game. There were times when they would put pressure on him that, instead of doing the silly, just, trying to make the throw and make the catch, he would throw it away or, he would run out of bounds. I mean, he didn't do anything like typically you see a freshman quarterback do. I think that the only time that I really saw him show his freshman quality was in that third quarter when he was pressured and the defense had made a stop and they had gotten the ball at their 43 and they put pressure on him and he threw that interception and that kind of sealed the deal. But other than that, I think he's going to be something special for Marshall.
I think he's got some great potential, great size. I think he's mobile. I think he can throw the football. So I do think his future is promising. But again, he's not a true freshman. I think he's a redshirt freshman.
He is a redshirt.
But it's the actual reality of playing in the games, and that's a learning experience for anybody.
Speaking of Marshall quarterbacks, Marshall lost one of their all-time greats just today when we were taping this show. Former player Michael Payton passing away, had been battling some health issues. His legacy at Marshall, pretty outstanding. I mean, he's the quarterback who led them to their first national championship in 1992. Played in the championship game in 91, actually, and then led them back to the finals, and they won the national championship in 1992. Pretty good legacy to have.
Absolutely. That football team and that first championship will be forever ingrained in Marshall history, and he will be the guy, he will be the name that everybody will talk about. And when you start looking at the record books and where he ranks, I mean, he was a special guy.
He was also the recipient of the 1992 Walter Payton Award, which they give to the Division I AA most valuable player. Is that correct?
As it was called then, yeah.
As it was called then,
right.
yeah.
And to me, that's a big deal. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, there was a whole lot of players that could have had a chance for that, and to win that, that's special.
I think sometimes he gets lost in the shuffle a little bit of memories because not long after him came Chad Pennington, Byron Leftwich,
Randy
Eric,
Moss,
Eric
and
Kresser, Eric Moss, and sometimes Michael Payton's contributions maybe get overlooked a little bit because he was not, quote, a pro NFL guy. When I think of Michael Payton, he came from Harrisburg, PA. He was, I think of George Chomp, who recruited him. And George, to me, is a coach whose contributions also get lost a little bit. George is the guy who forever raised the bar for Marshall football by taking them to that first national championship game in 1987, and they never looked back after that.
Well, and you know, I'm a little partial to that because I feel like, you know, Sonny had everything kind of set, ready to go. But the actual reality of that was Chomp did make that move. He was the actual guy that got the opportunity to take that team and make that team successful.
Well, and Sonny, by the way, Sonny Randall.
Sonny Randall,
for
yes.
those who don't know.
Yeah.
You do know that you know, George was a guy, he was a great storyteller, and he was a guy that was fired at Ohio State. He was an assistant at Ohio State, got fired by Woody Hayes like 10 times. You know, every time that George threw a pass with Art Schleister and it was picked off, Woody would fire him. So George was quite a character. It was a great era of Marshall football.
Yes,
and
it was.
Sometimes that era gets lost in the shuffle compared to what came later in the 90s. It probably shouldn't. Payton was a heck of a player.
Well, because of those names too, the Moss and Pennington, those kind of names, those are major players that have had great success. But it's a shame that sometimes that gets lost, and obviously, you know, it's a sad day for Marshall fans.
And Michael Payton is a college football Hall of Famer as well as a Marshall Hall of Famer. Yeah. All right, quick picks before we go. Spring Valley, Capital. Who are we going with?
I'm going with Capital.
Capital.
I'm going to go opposite Carl and go with Spring Valley and feel good about it. I think West Virginia, Texas Tech. I think the Mountaineers win solidly. I'm not a blowout, but they're favored by I think 7 or 8. I think they'll win by that. Marshall at Western Kentucky. I'll be honest with you, I'm not sure. I think Marshall will win the game, but it is on the road.
I'm going to go Marshall and go WVU as well.
What are you thinking, Queen?
I'm probably going to have some haters. I want to go Marshall and I'm going to go Texas Tech.
Ooh, I would not expect that from you. I wanted to go that way, but I figured.
I think it's going to be an upset. I don't know. I don't know. I just have a feeling. I'm probably totally wrong. I hope I am. I hope I'm wrong.
It's a big weekend wherever you are, all across the state of West Virginia. Enjoy it. We're out of time. Thanks for being with us on the Dutch Miller Tailgate Show.